Welcome to Abolitionist Day. This is our 4th annual Abolitionist Day, and we've got quite a crowd here. Very nice. I hope everybody has gotten their Abolitionist Day shopping done. If you haven't, we have lots of things back there that you can get. Thaddeus Stevens cups and posters and I guess some CDs and such like that. You want to get all your shopping done before Thaddeus Stevens comes down the chimney. So this year is a particularly important Abolitionist Day because we're also celebrating the 100th anniversary of the amendment to the Constitution giving women the right to vote. And March is also Women's History Month too. So you got a little you there. So in any case, I want to bring to your attention, and I think lots of people have already gotten these, the programs that have been worked on very diligently by Judy Young. There's lots of good information in there. And I also just want to tell, besides all the things that we're selling back there, we'd also have a sign-up sheet if you want to be on the email list for the Thaddeus Stevens Society, and also we would appreciate any sort of contributions that you might want to have. A lot of people don't realize that women were much of the backbone of the abolitionist effort during the 19th century. And they also sort of felt like it was their time to get the vote. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I was listening to a dress rehearsal right before we started today, and one of the lines from Anna Dickinson is, and let me make sure I get this right, promises made in the dark are forgotten in the morning, which sort of seems to sum up male-female relations in a lot of cases. But I want you to know Thaddeus Stevens definitely had the ladies in mind when he came up with the original version of the 14th Amendment. If his version had gone through, women may have had to vote 50 years before they got it. But unfortunately, there were only men in Congress at that time. And they actually, in the 14th Amendment, they put the word male in the amendment. And Thaddeus Stevens was not happy about that. And he said, I have another objection to the amendment. The proposition is to apportion representation according to the male citizens of the states. Why has this been put in the word male? It was never in the Constitution of the United States before. Why make a crusade against women in the Constitution of the nation? Is my friend as much afraid of their rivalry as the gentlemen on the other side of the House are afraid of the rivalry of the Negro? I do not think we ought to disfigure the Constitution with such a provision. I find that every unmarried man is opposed to the proposition. Whether married men have particular reason for dreading interference from that quarter, I know not. I certainly shall never vote to insert the word male or the word white into the national constitution. Unfortunately, he had to eat his words. He was not really satisfied with the way the amendment came out, but he said, believing then that this is the best proposition that can be made effectual, I accept it. I shall not be driven by clamor or denunciation to throw away a great good because it is not perfect. I will take all I can get in the cause of humanity and leave it to the perfected, to be perfected by better men in better times. It may be that time will not come while I'm here to enjoy the glorious triumphs, but that it will come is as certain as that there is a just God. So, Thaddeus tried, but didn't do it. And so now I'd like to turn over the podium to Judy Young, who's going to tell you a little bit about the saga of Anna Dickinson.
Thank you, Ross, and thank you to the Thaddeus Stevens Society for beginning these Abolitionist Day celebrations. I do want to also just state, and you can see this in your program, that of course this play, and some of you may have been here in 1986, we are primarily indebted to Christina Gladfelter and Ann Griffith. Is that the very, wait, I keep looking to see if I can find Christina somewhere, but whether she can make it today or not, we want to say a thank you to Christina Gladfelter for the original, and this is loosely based on that play about Anna Dickinson. So check your programs. It describes a lot of the history of these folks. And two things I just want to say. One, most of the women who became suffragettes, and by most I mean 99.9%, started out learning their political chops as abolitionists. So the connection is very close. And then the second thing I want to say is regrettably, there were divisions in the abolitionist movement and in the suffragette movement that you can read some of the beginning of those divisions on the back as it describes them, and later there were times when this argument continued. Who are we going to give rights to? Is everybody going to get rights? Oh no, we need to give the women the rights first. Oh no, we don't need to give the women the rights. But anyway, there were those kinds of debates that went on. I would love to say that when abolitionism won the day, there was no more racism, no more sexism, and everything in the garden was lovely. But as you know, not quite the case. But we want to just invite you to relax and enjoy the story of Anna Dickinson fighting for freedom and the vote.
Boston, 1856. William Lloyd Garrison, publisher of the Abolitionist newspaper, The Liberator, and his daughter, Fanny. Father, This morning at the dry goods store, Jacob said that the founding fathers would sit upright in their graves if they knew about the Dred Scott decision.
Oh, it's a disgrace and an outrage. The Southern aristocracy has bought out the Supreme Court, lock, stock, and barrel. They've made a mockery of the Bill of Rights. That document was never intended to protect slave mongers, nor to force Northerners to return runaway slaves to their oppressors. The South is arrogant with power. Nothing stands to prevent the spread of its disease to every healthy part. Nothing except madmen like myself, closeted away in their cellars, turning out truth on their printing presses.
Oh, Father, you printed the letter from the young Quaker from Philadelphia.
Oh, yes. Well, I thought that if a girl of 13 years old could write a letter so eloquently against slavery, the least I could do is publish it. But, well, who knows? Perhaps it will spur the do-nothings into action.
You've often said if it were not for the women in the movement, there would be no one at all.
Yes, well, I suspect she is a protege of Mrs. Mott, is she not? What's her name? Dickinson?
Anna Dickinson. She writes, "Can any man in this country stand up and say, I am free, when such evils are constantly being enacted among us without an act of denunciation? How long will Northern men watch the struggle between freedom and slavery? How long will they see their rights trampled and their liberties sacrificed beneath the iron heel of oppression? How long will they bear this without an effort of resistance?" This sounds like a call to arms. I thought Quakers were anti-war.
Well, Miss Dickinson was born a Quaker. She is now certainly bravely getting well over it.
Byberry, Pennsylvania, 1856, the home of Hattie Fortin Purvis, Hattie and her daughter Harriet and her daughter Hattie. Harriet. Hattie. I believe this is written by your little friend Anna Dickinson.
Indeed it is, Mother. I told you that family had a speaker with the courage to take on the Southern slavery that grinds our people to death. Anna says, how long will their rights be trampled and their liberties sacrificed beneath the iron heel of oppression? She speaks of the Northerners who are compelled by the law to turn over fugitive slaves.
That very law that brought us from Philadelphia to Byberry. Our underground railroad station is much safer here, both for ourselves and for our passengers.
How did you get on finding clothes for this mess?
Very well. These outfits were very acceptable for the children. It'll be cold when they leave later this evening. How did you come out with your addition? How many passengers do you count now?
Well, with those that Father counted here in Philadelphia before I began my ledger, add to those of our time right now, we have helped over 3,745 to freedom.
Praise the Lord. That's excellent. I am so thankful for it, but would to God that men in the North would begin taking action and not just listening. If they would only listen to us and listen to women like your little friend, Anna Dickinson. Come, let's get them ready for their journey.
Philadelphia, 1861, Anna is 18. Miss Dickinson, may I present my wife, Dr. Hannah Longshore.
So you're a doctor?
Yes, with a degree from the Philadelphia Women's Medical College. Well, you know, my patients were sworn to secrecy by the doctors who recommended them to me. If their colleagues knew that they sent a patient to a woman doctor, they would be drummed out of the profession.
Well, the attitude prevails that it is indecent for a woman to heal the body.
Well, if we could succeed in changing that notion, not only women, but the field of medicine would also benefit.
I believe that the first step is to win the right to vote.
You know, our debate on the women's question continues through next month. Perhaps you would like to come share some of your views. I think you would be welcome to do so.
How about next week?
A woman cannot vote. A woman is taxed without representation. Women are refused admission to college strictly on the basis of their sex. Women cannot gain profitable employment. A married woman is legally dead in the eyes of civil law. She cannot own property. She cannot keep her wages. She is not the legal guardian of her children. The 19th century woman is a slave in this society as surely as our black brethren. We hear so much these days of the work of Florence Nightingale among the sick soldiers in the Crimea. Why is it not honorable for a woman to administer to the sick as physicians? Would any here today who know her say that Dr. Hannah Longshore is not an honorable woman? I do not think so. The men and women who would deny the vote to fully half God's creatures say it is not fitting for a lady to go abroad among a rough crowd of men to cast her ballot. Yet it is mandated for that same lady to go abroad among that same rough crowd of men to pay her taxes. When we placidly accept the laws that place us in the same category as minors, lunatics, and idiots, then we surely are the latter if we do not rise up and challenge such gross inequality.
Anna Dickinson, I would like to introduce to you Mrs. Lucretia Mott.
It is an honor. I have followed thy life of service with admiration. Hannah said she invited you today. I'm glad that you could come.
Anti-Slavery Society, meeting, Philadelphia.
I thank thee, Mr. Chairman, for thy kind introduction. It gives me pleasure to look upon those gathered here today and see so many old friends from whom I have been too long parted. This is the 26th year we in the Anti-Slavery Society have been united in the struggle to end slavery in our land. There are those among us who believe our work is finished because slavery, it is supposed, will be extinguished by this war. But I think our work is far from over. It shall not end until every northern citizen declares that slavery is the true cause of this conflict. Taking back a few forts will be of little avail and no peace induced until slavery is abolished. I stand opposed to this war or any war because God said, "Thou shalt not kill." But if it must be fought, and the South has made it so, then let the spoils of Northern victory be equality and freedom for all. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. William Lloyd Garrison.
This Constitution, the Constitution of these United States of America, is a covenant with death and an agreement with hell. So perish all compromises with tyranny. I have long warned that unless this nation repents, vials of wrath will be poured down upon it, and their terrible contents are even now falling. I am too old and too stubborn to compromise. Anyone who knows me will tell you that Garrison is no friend to compromise. However, today, I am feeling in the mood for a compromise. Here is my compromise. I will never publish another copy of The Liberator. I will never again speak in the cause of emancipation, and I will persuade our society to disband if, and only if, the South agrees to abolish slavery forever. Sound fair enough?
Future history will show that the Battle of Ball's Bluff was lost not through ignorance and incompetence, but through the treason of the commanding general, George B. McClellan. And time will vindicate the truth of my assertion. We shout merely for the flag and for the nation, and the South, knowing this, will never be subdued. While the flag of freedom waves only for the white man, God will be against us. But when we nobly and unselfishly fight for the right of man, then will the issue be determined.
Let our final resolution be to petition the President
And to petition the Senate.
To petition the House
until all the halls of Congress are flooded
With a sea of petitions demanding the immediate emancipation of the black man in every state of these United States. And then, when emancipation is at long last proclaimed, then will our work be done.
Then will this society finally and forever part.
amid shouts of jubilation,
Prayers of thanksgiving,
victorious in our cause. Ladies and gentlemen of Boston, this is our sad roll call. Bull Run, Ball's Bluff, the 7 days, Groverton, Bull Run again. This is the unhappy history of the Army of the Union. Defeat upon defeat. Where must the finger of blame point? Squarely at our generals. Hear their names: Banks, McDowell, Pope, and George B. McClellan, who, if he is not a traitor, is most unfortunate in his selection of friends. After months and months of waiting, when the feeling of the country finally drove him down the peninsula to Yorktown, he found it defended by empty entrenchments and wooden cannons. Then, advancing towards Richmond, he was outmaneuvered at every step.
I say McClellan is a good man. Let's hear 3 cheers for the general.
Sir, there is to be but one speech here tonight, and it is mine. I hope these names are soon forgotten, swept away by history's tide with new names of battles won and generals victorious. Names like Ulysses Grant, who in a thrilling victory captured Fort Donelson in the West. I can see him now on the eve of battle, riding among his men, encouraging them, cajoling them, urging them on to triumph against the enemy. I ask you here tonight, be like those men. I encourage you, I cajole you, I urge you to know that slavery is the enemy. It is the cause of this war, and this war will not be won until slavery is abolished. Are you ready when the order comes to send up word to our general in Washington, not merely that you desire it, but as those men said in Fort Donelson, we will have it, and step forward in the advance to take it. Thousands of graves and trenches, crowded with the best loved of our land, offered up for your sake, ask you. Hundreds of thousands of brave fellows on the battlefield, facing death, ask you. 4 million of the oppressed people with manacled hands that reach up to God, ask you. Are you ready to march against the ramparts of slavery, Mount them with one determined bound, and on the ruins of the shattered system, plant the stars and stripes, proclaiming its proud message in characters of living liberty and freedom for all. Are you ready, America? Answer yes. We are ready. We are ready now.
Anna, on the campaign trail, 1863. Wonderful speech, Miss Dickinson. Wonderful. Now, on to New Hampshire.
Thank you. It will be an honor to speak on behalf of abolitionist candidates like Mr. Gilmore, even though at times the Republican Party gives weak tea where strong medicine is needed.
Well, we are getting stronger, and your powerful words will help us defeat those copperhead Democrats who would cease the war and negotiate. We have just 20 minutes to catch the train. Are you ready?
Off we go.
Go.
The Dickinson home, Philadelphia. Mother, she was in Bennington, New Hampshire. What else than the living truth could have inspired this young girl, this Joan of Arc, to stand unabashed in the presence of thousands and electrify them?
I am a member of the State Republican Committee in New Hampshire. Prescott, my vote is nay, no, absolutely, without question. Gilmore isn't the only one running for state office in this state.
I realize that.
I will have a tough enough time as it is. So Prescott, do not send that damn woman into my hometown to undermine my election.
Boo.
As you wish.
Dover, New Hampshire. It is only once in a great while that an audience here is permitted to listen to such a flow of patriotic eloquence and inspiring words. Miss Dickinson is a very remarkable person.
Prescott, don't be so damn contrary. I want that woman. I need that woman. She's a miracle worker. I need her to save my election.
Sir, her schedule is announced and published. You would not have her when you could. Now, you cannot have her when you will.
Lebanon, New Hampshire. It is sufficient to say that wherever she has been, and she has spoken about 20 times, her audiences have been the fullest of any during the campaign.
Just remember, this area has been hard hit with casualties. Women with sons are nervous. They want the war ended at all costs. So encourage them in all possible ways. This you can do much good.
Very well.
Your public awaits.
Mothers in the audience tonight who have sent their sons to battle, take heed. In ancient Rome, there appeared one day a huge chasm in the heart of the city. The gods demanded of Rome to cast her most prized possessions into the gaping hole, and it would be closed forever. All the treasures of the city were sacrificed in vain, until at last, a noble warrior, Quintus Curtius, declared that Rome's most precious gift was her young manhood. He rode fully armed into the gaping chasm, which closed upon his grave and gave to the city solid ground and security once more. Let every mother and every mother's son know that he goes perhaps unto his grave, but he will not falter in his glorious mission. When solid ground once more closes in peace over our country, now so rent and torn, he shall never be forgotten. But they who come after shall say, tread lightly, for the ground whereon ye stand is the grave of martyrs, and is holy ground.
Miss Dickinson, the results are in. Mr. Gilmore is the winner. He will be the governor of New Hampshire.
We did it.
You did it, Miss Dickinson. I know we were 5,000 votes behind before you took the state by storm. Mr. Gilmore owes his election to you. And he's in the Capitol tonight, but he asked me to express his appreciation. And on behalf of the New Hampshire Republican Committee, our strongest thanks.
This is generous.
You deserve more. Now, I know this whirlwind schedule has not been easy.
Actually, Mr. Prescott, I will miss it when I go home.
Well, don't pack your bags just yet.
What do you mean?
There are several men over at the inn who would like to speak to you this evening, if you're not too tired.
Who are they?
Jay Batterson, for one, chairman of the Connecticut Republican Committee.
Well, I suppose.
I think it'd be wise to spend a few moments in their company.
Mr. Prescott, what's the meaning of your secret smile?
Come along, Miss Dickinson. You'll find out. Allow me to escort the most sought-after woman in New York.
Good afternoon. We are Dearest Home, and we're here today to present some of the songs of the 19th century, mostly connected with the abolitionist movement, but at least one of them very much part of the suffragist movement. As our players told us, there was a great deal of interplay between those two movements, and some of the leading characters were people who worked for both types of freedom. We are going to start with a song that was written in 1861, the words in 1862, the music. The words by John Greenleaf Whittier. Even though Whittier had been a Quaker, he strayed away from some of the pacifist beliefs of his religion because he felt that, as Garrison told us, the Constitution was flawed and that war was inevitable because of that imperfect document. So we will present We Wait Beneath the Furnace Blast. I'm afraid we have just a little technical difficulty. Our microphone is not standing up for freedom as it should. so much. Dearest Home enjoys very much singing the inspiring songs that were first made popular by the Hutchinson family singers, who were active in the cause of freedom in the 19th century, both before and during the Civil War and even afterwards. This song is set to a beautiful tune that was written by Stephen Foster, but by so many songs in both the abolitionist and suffragist movements, new words were written. This is Hope for the Slave.
On the southern
Dearest Home will kindly be playing for us also during our intermission. We want to welcome folks to gather some refreshments and have a look at the displays around the room. You will be amazed at the wording of the Women's Declaration of Independence, which was called a Declaration of Intent, right?
Sentiments.
Declaration of Sentiments. And it's on one of the displays. So do have a look at them, and intermission, and we will enjoy more of Dearest Home's wonderful music as we do that. 10 minutes, we'll be back.